Did you know that 1 in 5 Americans age 50 and older have no retirement savings? Today, we're going to listen to Vicki at My Retired Path on how she retired with just a few $1,000s to her name. Let's go.
I retired with zero in my 401k. Matter of fact, I didn't even have a 401k. I know it's kind of scary when I think about that, but I decided I was going to retire. And I think at the time when I retired, I believe if I can remember correctly, I had I think it was about 15 to 18,000 in my savings. I had to work off of savings because I didn't have a 401k. And it was a little nerve-wracking. So this is my short little story, and it's not a normal how to save for retirement by any shape. It's not your traditional retirement savings. Most people have a 401k. I wish I did. So anyways, yes, I was a little nervous about retiring. And so what had happened was I didn't necessarily retire. I still had to work. So what I did was I drew my Social Security, and I've been retired for about 3 years now. I drew my Social Security, and then I stayed working. I think I worked maybe 30 hours a week. And all that money while I was working, all that money went straight into my savings account. So every week, or every 2 weeks I got paid, it went into my savings account. I just kept pushing it into my savings account. And so I was there for a couple years. And then on top of that, I was still doing eBay. So anything that I sold off my eBay channel went straight into my savings. So every little bit went into my savings. When I got my tax return, savings, everything, anything that was left over in my checking account, which was very little, into my savings. And then after a while, I could see it climbing and climbing and climbing. And that's how I managed to get my retirement fund built up. Not a good way to do it.
All right, so what I'm noticing so far here is, she mentioning that she didn't have a 401k or wasn't able to utilize one throughout her working career. And now she's basically partly retired, where she is retired and then also doing some of these side jobs, side income. Sounds like eBay, maybe YouTube, and some other stuff as well. So a few different things going on there. One of the biggest things she also mentioned was that she's, of course, drawing on Social Security, which obviously if she doesn't have a 401k set up and she doesn't have any other type of retirement account to draw on, Social Security is going to be something that you're going to almost certainly going to have to lean on at that point. Now, she does mention she is earning income and withdrawing from Social Security. So you do have to be careful about that, because if you do draw on Social Security below full retirement age while working, so drawing on Social Security below full retirement age while working, it does reduce your benefits. There's a certain formula out there for that. So you need to be careful about that. But she may be over the full retirement age. I don't know. So again, that's one of the things you just have to consider. Yeah, obviously a very tough situation here for her. Really interesting, compelling story. And I really am going to guess that this is not that uncommon when it comes to a lot of people out there.
I was scared to put it in the stock market. I started to, and I got so nervous about that because that's when I only had 10,000, and my financial guy wanted to put some. I just couldn't take that chance of losing anything. Maybe that's not the route to go, and maybe I should do that now again. I don't know. It was just very nerve-wracking for me because I didn't have that kind of money to lose.
Yeah, investing in the stock market, it's obviously never a known for sure thing. Obviously, the longer term you can be in the stock market, the better the projections are. But in the short term, and if you're drawing on the money, it's a much different situation. And that's where asset allocation, having some in stocks, some in fixed income, that way you can have a good mix to maybe draw upon parts of it that are giving you some interest back, and then some of it's for long term growth. That's where that mix of stocks and bonds helps. Again, she's mentioning a financial guy. So I don't know if she has a financial advisor or who exactly she was working with or maybe advising her. I would be interested to see what their opinion was of kind of her situation and what advice they were giving her. But yeah, when it comes to drawing on the money that you need to live on, if it's a relatively small amount and you're living on it, and it makes a lot of sense to be nervous, especially at that age, to be putting it in the stock market because while the projections are good long term, I mean, in the short term, you don't really know what's going to do. I mean, on a day to day basis, the stock market's a coin flip, really. So, totally understand where she's coming from.
At all. So if I put 5,000 in there, I didn't have 5,000 to lose. And so anyways, I yanked it out, and maybe I shouldn't have. Everyone says, "Oh no, you'll go down, but then it'll come back." I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about the stock market to do that. If anyone knows, oh my gosh, please leave a comment for me on that. But I was just really nervous about that. So anyways, and I still have a mortgage. I am still dealing with a mortgage right now. And so between that and still dealing with a mortgage, I didn't have that kind of money to lose. So after I retired, and like I said, I've been retired for about 3 years. I think it was a year after I retired, I got a letter in the mail. And it said, "You are entitled to a pension." What?
I'm assuming she must have worked for a government or something like that at some point, and she probably didn't or just forgot that she worked for them, maybe when she was younger. So, it must have been with the government almost certainly. Let's see.
Worked for a school system when I was very young. I believe it was my late teens until my late 20s. I worked for a school system.
Realistically, it's probably not going to be a ton of money, obviously, in that small of a time period of working for the government. But obviously, anything helps in this scenario, and it can be a big difference for her. So I'm sure that's probably what she's about to say is that it made a big difference.
It went right over my head. That's a government job. Pension. It went straight over my head because I was young. I wasn't even paying attention to that. They sent me a letter. Oh my goodness. And they said, "You are entitled to a pension. We are giving you back pay for the last 2 years." You gotta be kidding me. It wasn't a large pension, but a pension is a pension. And so my Social Security was just a little under average. And so with my pension now, I'm more average, maybe a touch above, not much. But it's like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it that I was getting a pension on top of my Social Security and back pay for the last 2 years. So that was over a couple thousand or so, something like that. And of course, that went into my savings, but it's like, I was so thrilled. Being young and dumb, I never even realized that they were even nice enough to give me back pay. So they had all kinds of people that they were calling because people just forgot about that. Wow. I felt so fortunate. So the thing is, my story is not a normal story. Most people have 401ks that they are putting into. I wasn't fortunate enough to, I guess I had a couple jobs that had a 401k, but I wasn't there long enough for that to take place. So, like I said, I had to just do it all on my own. And so right now, my savings has climbed up pretty good. And I'm pretty happy with where it's at. But it still needs to go a little bit further where I feel comfortable because, you know, I guess it all depends on your lifestyle because I gotta tell you, I belong to, I don't know if I belong to that group anymore. It was a retirement group. And I have to chuckle. There are so many people that say, do you think I can retire on $1 million? Will I be okay with that? Get out of here. Are you serious right now? God. But the thing is, depends on your lifestyle. Maybe their lifestyle, they can't. My lifestyle, I would be just fine with $1 million. Are you kidding me right now? Wow. I know.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to completely depend on your withdrawal rate. It's such a big factor of the longevity of your portfolio and how much money and how long it will last for. How much are you withdrawing? And of course, how much you're earning and a few other factors. But yeah, you know, your lifestyle is such an important factor. And that's part of my job is to figure out, okay, based on your lifestyle, how long will your retirement last and what can we do to make it last as long as possible or whatever the client's goals are. So, yeah, I think she's 100% right there. But obviously, for her, $1 million is like that would be like winning the lottery, basically. Because if when you're struggling, you're just barely making ends meet. It's like a windfall, basically.
I have to laugh every time someone says that, though. Do you think I can live comfortably on $1 million? Get out of here. Yeah, I think you'll be just fine. I really think you'll be just fine. Yeah, sometimes you got to stay within your means. I don't know. So the thing is, and like I said, I still have a mortgage. So yeah, I didn't get that paid off. So thank goodness it's not real expensive to live in my house. I made a couple videos ago about a tour through my house and on a retirement budget, thrifted items. And someone seen that, they go, oh my gosh, you must be rich. I answer, I go, I wish. I says, not by a long shot am I rich. A lot of thrifted items in my house. But the thing is, you cannot compare your retirement to somebody else's. You just can't. Everybody retires differently. Everybody has different goals when they retire, what they want to do, see the world. Everybody's lives are different. So you gotta retire and you gotta do what makes it work for you. If you did not have a 401k like I didn't, there's ways of getting around saving as much as you can. There's always a financial journey for each and every one.
Absolutely. You do not have to have an employer-sponsored plan like the traditional 401k to be able to save for retirement. So whether you're self-employed, you work for somebody, a government, whatever your employment situation is, or even unemployed, there are ways to save for retirement. There's so many different accounts out there and account structures. Some are more tax advantaged and more tax incentivized than others, but there are definitely pros and cons to each of them. But either way, you can still invest and save for the future, because that's the most important part. Is sure, we can try to optimize things, the tax side of things, but you still want to have that nest egg built up.
So that's my story about not having absolutely any 401k.
Well, thank you, Vicki, for sharing some of your story here. Definitely, guys, check her out. Vicki, her channel is My Retired Path. Really great video here. And, again, this is off the top of my head, but I think there are a lot of people in a very similar boat to her where they don't have any type of nest egg built up or anything like that. And, they are living off Social Security for the most part, or, doing some side, jobs, hustles as well to, just get by. So, I don't think this situation is actually that uncommon, sadly. So, yeah, thank you so much, Vicki, for sharing your story here. Definitely will have to check out more videos from her, just learn more about her background, her past. And hey, if just you to me, Vicki, if you ever have a question, finance question, I'm a CFP pro, so feel free to shoot me a message, and I'd be happy to hopefully point you in the right direction or take a look at things for you, and just see what I could offer my opinion. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.